everyone. I have gotten a few requests lately on for makeup for interviews, job makeup, interview ready makeup. So that's what this one is today. I've also I talk a bit about like other tips on presentation and outfits and stuff for the interview, which is a bit further on in the video. But also I'm in a new setting, so I'm back in Ireland. I'm in my parents' house at the moment. I'll probably be here for a few weeks until I get myself sorted, and you'll probably be seeing a different backdrop, to be honest, for the next few videos, because I don't have a proper station set up yet. Still have to get like a desk and a few other bits, and I'm not sure about the lighting. In Ireland the lighting is always like this, really glary and really cool because it's so overcast. Oh, everything's bouncing straight off the clouds in on top of me. So I'm gonna have to try and sort that out. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do there yet, but this video is gonna be long enough anyhow. So yeah, here's the interview makeup, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so for your skin on the day, you want your skin to look as natural as possible, but good. So you don't want anything too matte, like too powdery or matte, and definitely nothing too shiny or highlighted or iridescent. You want to look like you haven't tried that hard, but you want to look well rested. It's important to look well rested pretty much. You don't want to look tired. So it's best to go for something with a happy medium. Now there's a lot of dewy, kind of natural dewy foundations out there. Maybe not so dewy, but more natural satin maybe finished. And that's probably the best finish to go for. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm using my Studio Fix Fluid, which is a matte finish. I'm just going to pop a wee bit of that on the back of my hand. And it's quite important as well to make sure that you have foundation that matches your skin. Now I will be doing a video coming up soon on matching foundations, the right foundation colour for your skin. But nothing's going to look worse than a tide mark at an interview, so do be aware of that as well. Get a friend to check it out if you can. So I have my matte foundation here. Sorry, it's so glary here you can't actually see it. Anyhow, my matte foundation on the back of my hand. And then I'm going to put a tiny wee bit of this number 7 highlights in it. It's like a slight pink subtle illuminating lotion. So I'm just going to put a wee bit of that in over the foundation, and that way it'll just take away the matte finish of the foundation and just give it a little bit of a glow without being in any way too glowy. I'm just going to mix that on the back of my hand and then just apply it on your skin. So I mean, again, you probably don't have too much time to spare, especially if this is a morning interview. So if you want to use your finger, use your finger. Just make sure it is blended well. I just always use my brush and buff that in and make sure there are no lines, absolutely no lines. So when you have the foundation on, it's time to use a bit of concealer. With the foundation as well, just make sure you don't wear too much. It's going to look awful if you look caked as well. Everything you want to think just the word medium, neutral. You know, you don't want anything too heavy or too light, too anything. Everything wants to be fairly in between. So use concealer around your eyes as well, because again, you want to look rested. You may have slept the night before, or at least gone to sleep early the night before, gone to bed early the night before, but just not been able to sleep, you know, out of nervousness. I mean, I usually find it hard to sleep well the night before interviews or anything, you know, that's kind of highly stressful as well. So chances are you might have some dark rings or bags. Now, even if you have natural dark rings, natural bags, they're not going to go, like the interviewer isn't necessarily going to know that they're natural. They're just going to assume, you know, you're tired. So do try and conceal them as best you can. Now for me, I have no bags. I just get some discoloration from being so pale and having thin skin around the eyes. So I just use a bit of concealer. Now if you have bags, the best way to conceal them is to use a lighter concealer underneath the bag, because if you think about the bag, it's puffy. There's an indentation underneath, and that indentation, that's where there's going to be a bit of a shadow. It's just natural, it's naturally going to happen. So to brighten up that shadow, you use a lighter concealer underneath the bag, not on top of the bag. And then on the actual bag itself, you can use something that's like half a shade or a shade darker, because you cannot just, do not use anything that's lighter on the bag, because, you know, it's common colour theory, light will bring forward, dark will push back. So you want to push back anything that's puffy and bring forward anything that's too recessed or shadowed. So I'm just using a little bit of concealer and have that all over the eye. And then also just conceal any little spots. You don't want any unsightly blemishes or unnecessary redness, but just try and keep it light. Don't do anything too heavy. So once you have your face concealed and the foundation on, I'm going to do the eyes next, and powder last in case there's any little bit of fallout, because you don't want it, you know, anything messy, and probably won't have a lot of time to do too much cleanup. So you want to try and keep the face as clean as possible while you're working. And if you've already powdered and then you get a mess, could take a while to fix it up. So the first thing that I'm going to use on the eyes is a matte cream eyeshadow. It's by Bobbi Brown. It's Bone, just number 1. You may have to use a different shade to suit your skin colour. Because I'm so pale, this practically just disappears on me. It fits in perfectly. So get something that suits your own skin colour. And then this is just going to even out the look of my eyelid, and you know, just make it a better look and taking away any colour that may be there naturally. It's going to give something for the eyeshadows to stick to. So once you have your base on, you want to stick with neutral colours. So the colours I'm going to stick with are these 3 here. They're MAC colours. So these are all matte colours as well. So I have this one here. We have Wedge, Brulee and Mylar. So the Brulee I'm going to put all over my my eyelid. So it's, again, it's pretty natural. It's not that very different from my own skin colour. And that's just going to cover everything and blend it up pretty high. It's a pretty inoffensive colour. It's not going to show any signs if you don't blend it perfectly. So again, use the colour that's a bit more relevant to your colouring, your own colouring. Now I'm grabbing Mylar, which is the lighter colour. I'm going to use this as my highlight. Now it's not at all iridescent, because again, you want to keep things natural, but it is kind of a satin finish, so it does catch the light. So it's not completely matte, and I'm applying that just underneath where I normally would, underneath the brow arch, on the inner corner here, and then just pop a tiny bit just in the very center of your eyelid. Then it's time to grab the medium brown, which is the Wedge, and apply that just above the crease. It's back and forth, and you can blend as you go along. You don't want to bring it up too high, but it's quite a light colour, so it's not going to look too harsh anyhow. And then pull it in over the very outer corner of your lid. So that's those 3 colours on. Now you can put a little bit of the Wedge underneath if you want to add a little bit of definition, but for me, I just like to keep the bottom lid clean. I think it just kind of makes it look a bit more awake. It keeps it a bit brighter, especially if you might have a natural shadow. Just keep it clean and keep it clear. So all I want to do next now is get a darker brown. It's not really important what brown you use. I'm just using this one as a screen face brown. I can't remember the name of it, but it's just like a dark brown without being too kind of warm or too cool. It's just fairly neutral. And I'm using a flat brush, and I'm also almost just going to line the top lid, but not from the inner corner to the outer corner. You can see it's just from about halfway, and then bring it out. And then just soften it like that. And just do the same to the other eye. And then just to make it look a little bit neater, I'm just going to apply a tiny bit of the dark shadow just in the very outer corner. You can use a blending brush, but this one is doing fine. And then just lightly blend that in with the rest of the area. So I don't want to add too much definition. It's not like I'm going for the dramatic, you know, eye or anything. This is just so that the brown has something to blend into. It's extremely important to make sure that it's blended well. If you do go for the darker colour in the outer corner. So all I'm doing is using the normal shader brush just to lay it down. You can blend it out just with circular motions using your blending brush. So just like that. And that's all I'm doing eyeshadow wise with my eyes. So when I have the shadows out, I'm going to get my flat shader brush, which I use to line the top lid. I'm going to use the same brown and just run it through my eyebrows. So you don't want anything too harsh with the eyebrows. You want to keep them relatively natural but fill in any gaps. And then just use a clear mascara just to keep them in place, just so that they're neat. So I've applied some mascara just to give some definition, and I applied a tiny bit on the bottom lashes as well, but run your fingers over it. Don't apply too much to the bottom lashes, but if you do apply just your fingers, rub them back and forth, and that'll help take away any excess, and it'll also help, you know, prevent it falling later on down on your eye, which can look a bit clatty as well. So that's everything done with the eyes. Then I powdered lightly all over because you don't want to look shiny either. It's a stressful situation. Sometimes you can get a bit sweaty. It's good to just try and keep it relatively matte, as in, like, you know, you don't want any excess shine shown through. And if needs be, just bring a little compact with you on the day, just so you can lightly apply, or bring those oil blotting sheets. MAC do them, Body Shop do them, so many people do them. They're a nice thing to have. You can just pat them over any areas that is starting to shine, and it'll take away the shine without affecting the makeup underneath. So for the cheeks, I'm going to skip contour, and I'm not going to bother. It's not necessary for this, but I'm going to add a light natural blush. So I'm using MAC's Tenderling, which is this. It's a really, really natural colour, and I'm just going to apply that lightly to the apples of my cheeks. Yeah, so Tenderling is pretty much the perfect natural colour for me. Again, it'll vary for your own skin colour, but just make sure that you use something that's matte and that just doesn't have too much colour in it. So that's why I chose Tenderling, which suits it perfectly. Then you want to stay fairly natural on the lips now as well. So I'm going to go into my neutrals palette, and it's important not to go for anything too shiny with the lips. It can look a bit tacky. It's probably going to be a bit distracting if you have something that's too glossy on the lips, just for the interview setting. And you don't want necessarily to get any harsh lines, so maybe skip lining your lips unless you do need to correct it. You can use something really, really natural, but I'm just going to go for creme de nude. I'm going to stick with creme de nude. So it's this one. It's a cream sheen. So it's going to be have a slight sheen to it without being glossy. So that's that on there. One thing I should say is try and make sure your lips are exfoliated, because mine aren't here, and it just doesn't really look well underneath lipstick if you have a lot of broken dry skin showing through. So do make sure your lips are exfoliated. You can go for something with a little bit more colour if you want, like maybe still staying fairly neutral but going for something that's a bit deeper or with a little bit more pink in it, but you do not want to go for anything too in any way too colour heavy. But if you do, make sure it's applied well, and do the finger test so that anything will be removed from the inside of your lips, so to prevent it going on your teeth, because that's another thing that is important in interviews, is to check your teeth before you go in. Make sure there's no lipstick on them. Also, it's a good idea to bring a toothpick in case you have any food from this morning. I mean, you shouldn't have, but it's just a good thing to do your last minute check before you go into the interview, just to make sure there's nothing on your teeth. So just have a little toothpick ready if necessary to pick anything out, and then that's your mouth and everything ready. So that's my whole interview face, but hair and clothes are a different idea. So okay, so nails wise, this is what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't go for anything that has any kind of, I'd say, gaudy colour, but in an interview sense it is gaudy. You don't want anything too colourful. I would go for something like this. This is, as you can see, it's a bit glary looking, but it's just a really, really pale nude pink nail varnish by Nails Inc. called Elizabeth Street, I think that's the name. But yeah, go for something neutral, even clear, just even maybe go for a French manicure. Make sure your nails aren't too long. No chipped nail varnish by any means. I have it chipped. That will look extremely unprofessional. Your hands are something they will look at. You do tend to shake hands at the start of an interview. You don't want to be playing with your hands, but just for me, for this interview, it's for the video, nail varnish is really the only thing I'm going to go on about that. So just try and make sure that you have neat, short, neutral looking nail varnish. For your hair, anytime I go to an interview, I pull it back. It's good to scrape it back from your head. Generally, I mean, I'm not going to suit a lot of interviews because I have tattoos, I have piercings. My ears would not suit a lot of things. I have gone to interviews before where I've put them in a low go-go, or swept this to the side where I try to cover my ears. So if you have any kind of earrings, you can get away. Try not wear earrings if you can. You can get away if you just have normal pierced ears. You can get away with small little studs, you know, tiny pearls, anything inoffensive, anything that's just not very necessary, that's not going to be too distracting. But for me, like I say, with these kind of tunnels, they look worse out than they do in, so I need to keep them in. But it's fine. I just try to cover them over. So another thing is my hair as well. So what I would do is, when it comes to my hair, because that obviously wouldn't suit, I would just bring it over to this side and try and scrape it back like this, so it's quite covered. Now, it's not going to be completely invisible. They'll probably still see it poking out from underneath, but as long as they see you've made the effort to try and fit in with what their requirements are, that'll probably be a big big tick against your name for ye. So do make the effort regardless of what you do have naturally, or not naturally, but what you do normally have, like for me with my blonde. So you do have to work with what you have, but you know, like I said, I wouldn't go for certain type of interviews or certain type of jobs. Another thing, I personally wouldn't wear suits. It's completely out of my comfort zone, but I do have other like pieces of clothes that I wear that I think are quite acceptable, that I've, you know, worn to interviews before, so I'll show you that in a sec. But one thing I do want to say is jeans. I've heard many people saying before that jeans is almost like a straight off no. If they see you walking into the interview, doesn't matter how great everything else looks, wearing a pair of jeans for some reason, well, not for some reason, I mean, they do look, they're too casual, they just immediately, they can be a no for a lot of interviewers. So do not wear jeans to interviews as a general rule of thumb. It just does not look professional, it doesn't look like you've made the effort, and you know, it's all about first impressions, so stay away from jeans. Okay, so this is a top that I've worn before to interviews. I got this from New Look. It's kind of a satin feel top, and it's not too clingy, but it's quite classy. It covers up everything, comes up to my neck. I wear like kind of shrug cardigans with it to hide my tattoos from my arms, but something like this where it's still quite me. I would never wear a suit because I would be completely out of my comfort zone. But like I said, I just wouldn't go for a job that requires a suit. But it's important to try and stay within your comfort zone. Don't wear any clothes that are really uncomfortable, or anything that you would feel extremely restricted in. But this is just to show you an example of something that I wear. So this is just a top that I've worn to plenty of interviews before, and I've gotten jobs that I've worn this to. So that's that. And then all that really can be said after that is accessories, try not to wear them. Maybe a really like kind of inoffensive plain like chain or something. Don't wear rings. Don't wear hair accessories. Like I said, a small pair of stud earrings might be fine. Cover tattoos by all means, even if it's going for a job where you're allowed to show off tattoos. The person doing the interview may not be on the shop floor, they may be higher up in the company, they may have different views on tattoos than what the actual managers or your work colleagues have, so be aware of that. It's best to cover them up either way. So the last thing really is hygiene. Doesn't matter how well you look, how well presented you are, if you come in and there's some kind of smell, or you haven't washed and your hair is greasy, it's going to be an extremely bad first impression. So make sure you try and get the chance to have a shower or a bath that morning, have your hair clean. Don't use too much product in your hair, that can look pretty bad as well. Brush your teeth. Like I said, do your checks anyhow before you go in. So maybe have a little compact mirror with you on the day just to have a quick look before you go in. Don't smoke. If you are a smoker, just don't smoke before the interview. Do not smoke in the clothes you're wearing for the interview. Have a mint with you. Brush your teeth before you go. The smell of smoke is another thing that I've heard managers, interviewers say that would immediately put them off a prospective employee is the smell of smoke. So make sure that's definitely not going to be detectable if you do smoke. Don't use too much deodorant, perfume, anything too strong. Again, it's like the makeup. You want everything to be in between. You don't want it to be too strong. So you want to be clean, but you want to be fresh smelling. You don't want to smell too perfumey. That can be, I find it personally really, really off-putting if someone has too strong of a scent on them. So I think that's pretty much it. I can't really think of anything else. Just make sure everything is clean, ironed clothes. Try and iron your clothes if necessary. And oh yeah, if like me you have pets and you have hairs on all your clothes, which pretty much everything I own has some form of cat hair somewhere on them, so go over your clothes with a lint brush. It's probably a good idea as well. And besides that, best of luck. I hope this video was handy for anyone with any interviews coming up. I know it can be pretty stressful, so you know, hope everything goes well for you, and I hope this was helpful. And yeah, I'll talk to you again really soon for another video, guys. So till then, bye.